allegations against Sean Diddy Combs.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
Hours after surrendering to federal law enforcement, we're getting a clearer picture about the charges against the former music mogul known as Diddy. From racketeering and allegations that he ran a, quote, enterprise that engaged in sex trafficking, forced labor or kidnapping, arson, and other crimes. It's a major development regarding the alleged crimes that authorities say have persisted for more than a decade. We have all the angles covered for you tonight as the story develops. Plus, the stunning attack across Lebanon, at least 9 people killed and thousands injured by exploding pagers triggered simultaneously. The attack apparently targeting members of Hezbollah. Lebanon is blaming Israel. How Israel is responding tonight. We're on the ground with more. And
it's a crime shame. I mean, my heart breaks for this community.
The latest developments from the campaign trail as Vice President Kamala Harris touches on the situation in Springfield, Ohio for the very first time, while Florida Governor Ron DeSantis opens his own investigation into this apparent assassination attempt on former President Trump as officials search for answers. Good evening, everyone. I'm Linsey Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We're following those stories and much more, including the hundreds evacuated in Texas more than 24 hours after a fiery explosion. A natural gas pipeline outside of Houston is what authorities now say caused the fire. Plus, the investigation into suspicious mail with a white powdery substance sent to election officials in several states less than 50 days before the election. And teen accounts, they're the newly unveiled approach from Instagram to address concerns over young adults' social media usage, what the new product means for teen users nationwide. But we do begin tonight with Sean Diddy Combs, arrested here in New York City, and his not guilty plea late today as Combs now faces multiple federal charges, including sex trafficking offenses. Combs was arrested overnight in New York. In court this afternoon, the judge denied him bail. The sweeping indictment accuses him of leading a years-long criminal enterprise of sexual abuse, including threats, coercion, kidnapping, and violence. Diddy was the subject of multiple civil suits, and in March, the FBI raided his homes in Los Angeles as well as Miami. Tonight, Combs' lawyers say the prosecution's evidence only shows consenting adults experiencing intimacy, but federal authorities describe something very different. We're standing by for much more on this, but we begin with ABC's senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky, who was in the New York City courtroom today.
He was a genre-defining hip-hop impresario, but tonight Sean Combs is in federal custody on charges accusing him of a decades-long pattern of sexual abuse, exploitation of women, and other crimes of violence.
A year ago, Sean Combs stood in Times Square and was handed a key to New York City. Today, he's been indicted and will face justice in the Southern District of New York.
A 3-count indictment treats the 54-year-old Diddy like a mob boss, accusing him of leading a criminal enterprise that abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. The indictment going into disturbing details, alleging Combs orchestrated elaborate sex performances he called freak-offs, full of drug-filled debauchery, where he manipulated women to engage with male commercial sex workers.
The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics to keep them obedient and compliant.
Prosecutors alleging when Diddy didn't get his way, he hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair.
The victims did not believe they could refuse Combs without risking their security or facing more abuse.
The indictment referring to one incident in 2016 at a Los Angeles hotel seeming to match accusations made in a civil lawsuit by Cassie Ventura, Combs' former girlfriend. Disturbing hotel surveillance video obtained by CNN purportedly showing Combs attacking Ventura during that incident, throwing her to the ground, kicking her, and trying to drag her away. The lawsuit was settled with no admission of wrongdoing. Combs later issuing an apology video.
My behavior on that video is inexcusable.
10 more civil lawsuits followed Ventura's, alleging sexual assault, physical violence, and human trafficking, accusations Combs has denied. And in March, agents raided Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami. Today, prosecutors showing these images of seized ammunition and AR-15s, the serial numbers defaced.
They also seized evidence of the freak-offs. electronic devices that contain images and videos.
It is a staggering fall from grace for the self-proclaimed bad boy,
That's what's up.
who shot to fame in the 1990s, launching his record label and the successful careers of Mary J. Blige, Usher, and Notorious B.I.G.
Throw your hands in the air if you're a true player.
Expanding his brand and empire into fashion, fragrances, and alcohol. But today, Combs stood in a federal courtroom and pleaded not guilty, his lawyer saying he's innocent.
Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end. He's innocent.
Aaron Katursky joins us now from New York. And Aaron, you were in that courtroom today. Set the scene for us.
Sean Combs entered in a black T-shirt, gray sweatpants with a black stripe down the leg, and he had sneakers on. And when he entered, Linsey, he actually looked a little stunned as he surveyed the imposing federal courtroom. Several of Diddy's children and his sister were there to hear him say the words "not guilty," and then to see him led out of court by the marshals after the judge ordered him into custody without bail. That's a decision his attorney said they're going to appeal, so they'll be right back here at court tomorrow, Linsey.
Aaron Katursky for us. Our thanks to you, Aaron. And joining us now for more is criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Bernarda Villalona. Thank you so much for joining us. We've known that these charges were coming for some time. Why do you think that they were unsealed now?
So I think it was more of that they had to complete the investigation. Remember that when they executed the search warrant in Los Angeles as well as in his Florida home, that there was numerous electronic devices and video surveillance that they recovered. And it takes time to be able to go through all of those devices, to track that digital trail, and also to do interviews, because in the detention memo you see that over 300 people were interviewed and subpoenas were actually sent, and that there are numerous witnesses and victims in the case. But ultimately, I think after the prosecution and law enforcement reviewed all of this and got corroboration, they decided to present the case to a grand jury to determine whether charges should be started in this case, and ultimately the grand jury voted on these 3 charges.
Do you expect more defendants to be named here?
Absolutely. I expect more defendants as well as more charges for Sean Combs. So in terms of more defendants, we know that they are co-conspirators. We know that from the very first charge that he's charged with racketeering conspiracy, and also from the detention memo as well as the indictment, it states his co-conspirators. So these co-conspirators that are out there are either, number one, they are already cooperating with law enforcement and thus have not been charged, or possibly have been charged and their indictment is not public for us to see, or that it's soon coming, because like Damian Williams said, he says it's not over, that for other people who have information to come forward. And I think this is going to embolden and empower possible witnesses and victims that are out there to come forward, as we've seen with Harvey Weinstein, as we saw with R. Kelly, as we saw with Ghislaine Maxwell, and as we saw with Jeffrey Epstein. More victims and witnesses came forward once they saw that law enforcement was actually doing something about it.
And we saw today that there was no bail for him. We heard from Aaron Katursky saying that their lawyer's going to be back in court again tomorrow arguing for that. Do you think the bail will ultimately be set?
I think highly unlikely. I think, number one, the magistrate judge was the one who heard this bail hearing, this detention hearing today. And based on what was presented from the U.S. attorney and also from the defense attorney, that there's a high likelihood that this new judge, the district court judge that's probably going to be hearing this case, is going to make any changes, because the magistrate judge didn't abuse his discretion, especially taking, I think, what was a moving factor on this judge determining that no bail should be set is that in the papers, the prosecutor argued that Sean Combs has intimidated witnesses, has tampered with witnesses, has obstructed with justice, and that there are recordings of that. So that cannot be prevented if he is in the street. Also, secondly, when we're talking about these acts, when we're talking about these parties, when we're talking about all these sex trafficking, it all occurred inside of either a home or a hotel or another location. Pre-trial detention is not going to be able to prevent that from happening. So we would be sending him back to a crime scene or to create a crime scene. So therefore, detention is more of appropriate for a person like Sean Combs.
What's the maximum punishment here, potentially?
Sean Diddy, he can probably be put out for life. I mean, his mandatory minimum is 15 years, maximum lifetime. So we're talking about a person who used to spit bars may now be behind bars for the rest of his life.
What are the next steps in this case going forward?
So the next step is, of course, they're going to argue about the bail and how there should be a bond set tomorrow. But aside from that, it's going to move along in terms of, and it's going to move along quickly, because if he does remain in custody, a judge is going to try to speed his case in terms of setting a trial date, in terms of discovery being turned over to the defense so they can start preparing for trial, and in terms of any motions, motion to suppress, motion in limine. So those are the next steps. But of course, a case like this, I don't see it going to trial, at least for another year.
Bernarda Villalona, we thank you so much for your insight. Really appreciate it. There's new reporting after what authorities believe was a second assassination attempt against Donald Trump. What we learned about the suspect today as the former president thanked law enforcement. Here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, former President Trump showing appreciation for the sheriff's deputies who arrested the suspect who authorities believe plotted to kill him.
Thank you very much.
Keep walking! Those deputies seen in that dramatic body camera video arresting Ryan Routh, today giving Trump the handcuffs they used to apprehend him. Also today, Vice President Harris speaking with Trump in a call described as cordial and brief.
I checked on him to see if he was okay. And I told him what I have said publicly. There's no place for political violence in our country.
Overnight, Trump also praising the Secret Service agent who spotted the barrel of an assault-style rifle sticking out from the fence at his golf course on Sunday, opening fire on the suspect, who officials say had been hiding by the golf club for 12 hours. The Secret Service acknowledged they did not completely sweep the property before Trump arrived, because Trump's golf outing was not on their official schedule, saying they did not know he'd be playing golf that day. Tonight, sources telling ABC News the Secret Service director told Trump additional planning and security procedures are needed for him to continue his golf outings, encouraging the former president to give as much notice as possible. Today, FBI analysts pulling DNA from a number of items to see if anyone else was involved. And there's intense focus on trying to establish a motive. Sources confirming FBI agents are studying a self-published book that they believe was written by Routh, which obsesses over Ukraine, calls Trump a buffoon, and encourages Iran to target Trump. Routh seen here on one of his 6 trips to Ukraine.
If you're not here and you're sitting on your couch watching TV, then you're not doing the right thing.
Pierre Thomas is with us now. Pierre, the acting Secret Service director met with former President Trump today. What are we learning about what the director told the former president?
Well, the bottom line is that the Secret Service director is discouraging spur-of-the-moment outings by Trump because he says this is such a dangerous threat environment, Lindsay.
Pierre Thomas for us. Thanks so much, Pierre.
Pleasure.
Next tonight, to the fear gripping an Ohio community. And now Ohio's popular Republican governor spent the day in Springfield, Ohio, to push back against false claims that had been spread by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance targeting Haitian immigrants in the city. Our senior congressional correspondent Rachel Scott reports.
Tonight, Ohio's popular Republican governor traveling to the city of Springfield.
Crazy time, huh?
A show of support for a community on edge ever since former President Donald Trump amplified a false conspiracy theory that Haitian immigrants were eating neighborhood pets. Governor Mike DeWine has called the story simply not true.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Local authorities say there's no evidence that Haitian immigrants in Springfield are eating cats and dogs. The governor called the claim, quote, a piece of garbage. But in the weeks since the debate, Springfield has had at least 33 bomb threats, including the city hall. 2 hospitals went into lockdown. Today, DeWine visiting one of several schools that were evacuated.
Have your kids come back to school. It's a great environment, great place. We're doing everything we can. Your kids are going to be safe.
Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, who represents Ohio, was among the first to spread the false story and said this when he was pressed about it.
If I have to, create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do.
But today, Ohio's Republican governor defended Haitian immigrants, most of whom are in the country legally, as key to Springfield's economic revival.
We had one person told me, I'm not even sure my business would be here, but for the Haitians.
Today, Vice President Kamala Harris says Trump's words have left a whole community in fear.
It's a crying shame. We've got to say that you cannot be entrusted with standing behind the seal of the President of the United States of America, engaging in that hateful rhetoric that, as usual, is designed to divide us as a country.
Rachel Scott joined us now. Hey, Rachel, has Governor DeWine heard from former President Trump?
Governor DeWine said today that he has not heard from former President Donald Trump or Senator J.D. Vance. Vance was asked if he has any planned scheduled events to visit Springfield, and he said as of now he does not, but Trump has suggested that he could go sometime soon, Lindsay.
All right, we'll wait and see. Rachel Scott, our thanks to you. The other major story tonight, the stunning and far-reaching attack across Lebanon. Thousands of pagers belonging to Hezbollah militants simultaneously exploded, many in the pockets of those carrying them. The explosions killed at least 9 people and wounded thousands. Our chief global affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz is in the region tonight.
Tonight, shockwaves and panic across Lebanon after a stunning, unprecedented attack, both widespread and personal. Thousands of pagers belonging to Hezbollah militants exploding simultaneously, leaving at least 2,800 wounded, including civilians, and at least 9 dead, including a child. The wireless devices blowing up in hands, pockets, and here you see a shopping bag. Another security video shows a man reaching for his pocket before it explodes. The scream of ambulances reverberating through cities, one after another. Graphic images, which we have blurred, emerging from hospitals, showing fingers blown off, faces badly bloodied, and torsos and thighs ripped apart. Iran's ambassador to Lebanon also injured, but not seriously. Back in February, Hezbollah's leader telling his operatives to get rid of mobile phones, calling them a deadly agent. An intelligence source telling ABC that the Israelis have long been working to perfect what they call a supply chain interdiction attack. Former State Department official Steve Ganyard explains how that might work.
The Israelis likely saw an opportunity, bought up thousands of pagers, took them apart, inserted explosives, and then put them back on the market to sell directly to Hezbollah. And then using the radio frequencies that normally bring data into that pager, they simultaneously detonated all of the pagers.
Israel has not claimed responsibility and has not commented, but tonight, Lebanon's Council of Ministers calling the attack criminal Israeli aggression on a sovereign country, and Hezbollah warning that a response is coming. The targeted explosions followed warnings from Israeli leaders that they might ramp up the military campaign against Hezbollah after months of tension on the border and a regular exchange of missiles and rockets.
Martha Raddatz joins us now from Tel Aviv. Martha, how might this extraordinary attack affect Hezbollah's capabilities to respond?
Lindsay, U.S. officials believe there will be a response, but it may take some time. Hezbollah has not only lost a principal way it communicates, but had operatives killed and hundreds, if not thousands, of wounded operatives put out of commission for weeks, if not months. Lindsay?
All right, Martha Raddatz for us reporting in from Tel Aviv. Martha, thank you. Now to Capitol Hill, where a very heated exchange between Senator John Kennedy and an Arab community leader erupted as the Senate Judiciary Committee held a hearing on the rise of hate crimes.
I do not support Hamas. I do not support Hamas.
You don't support UNRWA. You don't support Hamas. You don't.
I was very clear in my support for UNRWA.
Hezbollah, and you don't support Iran. You should hide your head in a bag.
Senator Kennedy accused Maya Berry, the executive director of the Arab American Institute, of supporting Hamas during the tense hearing. Advocacy groups have voiced that U.S. has seen an uptick of hate crimes against Arab and Muslims since the start of the war in Gaza. The uptick parallels what Jewish advocacy groups have said is a rise in threats and violence against their community as well. Now to the damaging storm and heavy rain moving up the East Coast. The historic system has already brought up to 19 inches of rain in southeast North Carolina, with cars left underwater, and Brunswick County declared a state of emergency with multiple roads ripped apart by the flooding rain. Meteorologist Lee Goldberg with our partner station WABC here in New York is timing it all out for us. Hi, Lee.
Hey, Lindsay. And lower amounts expected here in the Northeast, but it ends a dry stretch here in New York City that's gone 10 days, longest dry stretch since May of 2023. The heaviest rains are still over the mid-Atlantic. There are flash flood warnings north of Raleigh and Greensboro. There's been one in Elizabeth City all day long. Flood watches into Virginia. Now, there are coastal flood advisories, Delmarva and southern New Jersey. That's because of the storm moving offshore along with the full harvest moon. Then you have the heavy rain getting into D.C. by morning, southern New Jersey. It slowly makes its way northward. It's bumping into dry air. So Philly and New York City will be a very close call later in the day into tomorrow evening. Ultimately, rain will reach those areas over the next few days. This is part of an unsettled stretch that takes us through late week. The result, fall temperatures as we head toward the official start of autumn this weekend. Lindsay?
All right, it's coming. Lee Goldberg for us. Thanks so much, Lee. A massive pipeline fire has been burning near Houston since Monday morning. Authorities say flames erupted from a liquid natural gas pipeline after an SUV crashed through a fence and ruptured a critical valve. Nearby homes were set on fire. Even power lines melted. Hundreds of people tonight remain under evacuation orders. The FBI and U.S. postal inspectors are launching investigations after letters containing a white powdery substance were sent to election officials in several states. The envelopes were reportedly hand-addressed and sent from the, quote, U.S. Trader Elimination Army in Tacoma Park, Maryland. Officials said the material found inside the envelopes was harmless. The mailings occurred, of course, just 49 days until Election Day. The Senate failed for a second time to pass an IVF protection bill. This legislation was largely dismissed by Senate Republicans and failed by a vote of 51 to 44. The bill needed 60 votes to pass and would have legally protected access to in vitro fertilization for American families. Democrats have focused on IVF ahead of the November election. During the ABC presidential debate, Donald Trump said he has, quote, been a leader on IVF. Still ahead tonight, Instagram unveils new safety controls to minors, what teens will soon see when they log in. But next, Diddy is now facing federal charges, but as this investigation has unfolded, many have come forward detailing experiences they claim to have had with the music mogul. A friend of his former girlfriend talked about what she says she saw during their relationship and how it allegedly hurt her career.
I'm personally traumatized by him. These things have messed up my career and my world. I spoke up because I'm not just speaking up for her, I'm speaking up for myself.
Did you kill Mary Yoder?
Sorry. No, I did not kill Mary Yoder. So it was a normal day until Mary started getting sick. No one really knew what was happening.
Her eyes just looked terrified. In less than 48 hours, my mom went from her healthy self to having died.
This is a mystery. How did she die? They begin to do this autopsy.
It's just screaming, toxin, toxin, toxin.
Did somebody intentionally do this to her?
When the tests came back, I thought, yeah, holy, are you kidding me?
I had dated Adam. I was scared of him. It changed the way I see the world.
She was really afraid for her life.
I do think Bill could have killed Mary. His wife died in July, and in November, he was dating his sister-in-law.
There was nothing in the world that was making sense at that point.
Caitlin Conley was guilty as sin.
Are you okay?
I'm sorry, I'm scared.
This girl thought she was smarter than everybody else. But there's another side to Caitlin Conley.
Well, I'm not buying this little Miss Innocent game.
Sequoia's a very small town. Everybody knows everybody.
My garden club is very divided. People think she's innocent. I think she's guilty.
Never heard of a case like this. Maybe a thriller.
It was pure evil.
We weren't quite sure what was coming next. I know it wasn't me. Sorry. So, if it wasn't me, who was it?
Little Miss Innocent. Passion, poison, prison. Only on Hulu.
When it matters most, America turns to David Muir and ABC's World News Tonight. You're watching America's #1 streaming news. Live reporting, breaking new exclusives. Keep streaming with ABC News Live. Friday, the 2020 season premiere.
Dr. Garcia!
Go inside a murder mystery.
Dr. Garcia, police department!
As it unravels.
Oh my God, Dr. Garcia was deceased on the couch.
How could this have happened?
An enduring and deep mystery filled with sick twists, shocking turns.
Friday night.
Secrets will be revealed.
Cold-Blooded, the 2020 season premiere. Friday night at 9/8 Central on ABC.
Welcome back. With Sean Diddy Combs' arrest on federal sex trafficking and racketeering charges, it's bringing back to light allegations made in a lawsuit filed by his former girlfriend, singer Cassie Ventura, who was also seen on disturbing video appearing to show Combs attacking her. That video was even mentioned in the federal indictment. Earlier this year, a friend of Ventura's spoke to Nightline's Byron Pitts about what she says she witnessed during that relationship and why she chose to speak out publicly.
It's so difficult to reflect on.
Sean Combs, now 54, acknowledged his assault of Cassie in a message posted on Instagram days after the video surfaced.
I was f***ed up. I mean, I hit rock bottom. But I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
That video will follow him for the rest of his life. People will always remember that video.
I'm personally traumatized by him. These things have messed up my career and my world. I spoke up because I'm not just speaking up for her, I'm speaking up for myself.
Grammy-winning songwriter Tiffany Red has worked with the top names in music like Jennifer Hudson, Joe Jonas, and Zendaya, whom she wrote Replay for. But one of the relationships she cherishes the most is with Cassandra Ventura, known as Cassie. The pair is seen in this exclusive photo out celebrating in Los Angeles.
Cassie is sweet. She's quiet. She's kind. She's a good person.
How's she doing?
She's okay. You can see what's going on. She's getting through.
Tiffany met Cassie in 2015 when she was hired to work on her album. She wrote multiple songs with her friend, including Don't Let Go.
You always keep it so cool, baby, don't let go.
By then, Cassie had been romantically involved with Combs for almost a decade.
My first interaction with him was he walked up to me and he was like, "You're the one writing all these songs about me." And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "So she's talking to you, huh?" And then he just looked at me and then he walked away.
What was the message he was sending to you, think?
I mean, I felt intimidated. You know, I definitely felt like it felt like he didn't want her to be talking to me.
Cassie met the music mogul in 2005 when she got signed to his record label. Together, they released hits like Me and You.
They know you're the one I wanna give it to. I can see you want me too. Now it's me and you.
And Long Way to Go.
Say you wanna love me, wanna touch me. Think twice 'cause you got a long way to go.
Cassie also dabbled in acting, starring in The Perfect Match.
So you've never been in a long-term relationship?
No. You?
I've never been in a short relationship. I want to try something new.
Combs' presence always looming over her, like in this Fox interview.
So I'm wondering about the boyfriend, Diddy, whether he came to the set to make sure everything was copacetic with you.
No, he actually really trusted the situation. Him and Terrence spoke beforehand because Terrence...
Wait. You date P. Diddy?
Oh, wow.
I did not know this, yeah.
In 2017, she released her single, Love a Loser, featuring rapper G-Eazy.
I'd rather lose a lover than a lover loser. Everything you did, I wanna do it to you. Got my vision clear, so now I'm seeing through you.
She spoke about the song in an interview with Power 106.
Well, when I wrote the song, the lyrics are, I'd rather lose a lover than to love a loser. So I'd rather lose, the love of my life than to love a guy that's just whack.
And a year later, the couple attended the Met Gala together. They spoke to Vogue in what became one of their last public appearances before breaking up.
I'm wearing head-to-toe Tom Brown, and I just wanted to be, at my Sunday's best, suited and booted. I always wear a dress, so I wanted to try something different.
And it's just like everyday life for us. Yeah.
You angelic all the time?
But long before the couple broke up, Tiffany says she saw a much darker side to Combs. She was there the night of Cassie's 29th birthday party in 2015.
I walk out the room, and right behind the door, there's his security is around him. They have her in the corner, and he's in her face, and he's cussing her out. And I couldn't really hear what he was saying, but could tell it was something was going on. He was really mad. He was really close to her face, and she just had her head down. And when I was standing over to the side, she just was kind of looking up at me. My sense was that everybody around him was afraid of him.
Afraid of Sean Combs?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, because he's explosive.
In Cassie's lawsuit, it said that Diddy supplied her and sex workers with drugs before and during these freak-offs. You ever personally witness Cassie under any influence?
The night of the party was a freak-off. He was saying, tell your girl she wants some birthday. That was a freak-off. That's where he was taking her. When he was cussing her out and she didn't want to go.
Tiffany says Cassie was terrified of Combs and felt as though she could not say no to him.
What you gonna do? He got the key to the city. He's friends with the politicians. He's friends with this person. You know what I'm saying? It's like...
Who's gonna challenge that?
Who's gonna challenge that? And win? And be believed? You're right.
Our thanks to Byron Pitts for that. You can see the full Impact episode, Diddy's Downfall, now streaming on Hulu. Joining us now is Liz Roberts, the CEO of Safe Haven, the largest nonprofit victim services agency in the U.S. Liz, thank you so much for joining us. How can we best support survivors when a story like this is in the headlines?
Well, it's so important to recognize that, there are so many survivors among us. Many people are carrying these wounds in secret and can be profoundly impacted when they hear a story that has, details similar to what they may have experienced. So I think being there for the people you care about, should they need to talk about the case, should they need to talk about their own experience, and making sure that we're speaking about events like this in a way that does not blame the victim is really critical.
Combs is accused of sex trafficking rather than evidence of sex trafficking. The defense countered these claims, saying that this was evidence of consenting adults experiencing intimacy in a way that two adults want to be intimate. Without commenting specifically on this case, what are common signs of sex trafficking just in general?
Sure. And, I think one thing that many people don't understand is that it is common for sex trafficking to happen in the context of an abusive, intimate relationship. And that gives, the person who is causing harm a way to manipulate and control the victim, and also a way to cover up their behavior. And so common signs of sex trafficking, we know that it tends to happen to people who are vulnerable, which could be due to age, due to disability, due to immigration status, or many other factors. And that when somebody is being trafficked, you might notice that there's somebody who is always watching what they do and what they say. You might notice that they don't have access to friends and family the way they used to. You might notice their fear and their efforts to kind of keep that person happy with how they're behaving. So those are just a few things, but every situation is different.
Combs is also accused of feeding different kinds of drugs to his alleged victims. Is this common for perpetrators in general to use drugs to further control victims in acts of abuse or coercion?
Yeah. So at Safe Horizon, we work with 250,000 survivors of violence and abuse every year, many of them exactly the kind of abuse that we're talking about here. And so we've heard thousands of stories. I've done this work my whole adult life and have heard countless stories. And one of the main things I've learned is that abusers and exploiters are incredibly opportunistic, and they will use every tool available to get what they want and to control and silence the victim. And, use of substances is a very, very common tactic.
Research suggests that victims of abuse or trafficking may be too frightened to reach out for assistance. How would you say that they can safely get help?
So we encourage anybody who is, has a past history of abuse or is in a situation of abuse and violence now to reach out confidentially to a hotline like the Safe Horizon hotline, talk to an advocate, and think through all of their options and what the safest way forward is. So we encourage survivors to make those choices in close collaboration with an expert from our field.
Some helpful information there. Liz Roberts, we thank you so much. Still much more to get to tonight. Coming up, more fallout from a deadly bridge collapse in Baltimore earlier this year. The group is now filing a lawsuit. But next, the nominations are out for this year's Latin Grammys. We take a look at the nominees by the numbers.
It was a regular day for 19-year-old Melissa Witt.
She went to meet her mom at a bowling church league, but she never makes it into the bowling alley. Something terrible had happened to her. Melissa was a good kid. She had big dreams for her life.
And then she disappears.
My gut knew this was not a young girl who just took off and ran away.
New information into the disappearance of Melissa Witt. Pools of blood were found by detectives.
We were sick to our stomachs.
I'd just love to have her back more than anything in the world.
It is a heart-wrenching day for the family of 19-year-old Melissa Witt.
Police found the body in the Ozark National Forest.
You had several suspects.
All these kinds of leads. Who could have done this?
You have a known serial killer in your area.
Could he be involved?
Find the evidence, find the DNA profile.
We had to find that person. Time was of the essence.
Every blood spot matters. Every piece of DNA matters. You're looking for that game-changing piece. We're actually finding key evidence that could have slipped through the cracks.
One of our guys says, you're going to see this.
And there's another one.
What could be underneath these headstones?
Her last hours on this earth were probably the most horrific a person can experience.
This beautiful young girl. Police will find out what happened.
At wit's end, the hunt for a killer. Now streaming only on Hulu. More Americans choose ABC News, America's #1 news source.
First thing in the morning.
There's a lot going on.
We're still in a flash flood warning. To catch you up with what happened overnight. Clashing over national security.
What's happening today? Tensions in the Middle East.
What people are talking about. The worries on Wall Street.
Fast, straightforward.
With some fun in between. Catching up on sleep during the weekend could be good for your heart.
Non-alcoholic bars are popping up in a growing number of cities. That's the spirit.
America This Morning.
America's #1 early morning news.
On ABC News Live.
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the Daily News Podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get your podcasts, Start Here.
It's lunchtime in America, so what are we serving up?
Well, how about everything you need to know?
Give it to me. Your health, your money, breaking news, pop culture, with the biggest stars, music, trends, and of course, good food.
It's all coming up on GMA 3.
You're going to love it. We'll see you then.
GMA 3, what you need to know. A third hour of GMA in the afternoon.
So join us, afternoons.
For everything you need to know.
I love that.
Me too.
Reporting from the Capitol, I'm Rachel Scott. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Welcome back, everyone. We are 3 days into Hispanic Heritage Month, which began Sunday. And just this morning, we were graced with the full list of nominations for the 2024 Latin Grammys, which will air on Univision November 14th from Miami. The Latin Grammys are tonight's by the numbers. This year marks the 25th anniversary of the awards, a major milestone for the Latin Recording Academy. To be considered for a Latin Grammy this year, a song's lyrics must contain at least 60% Spanish, Portuguese, or other native regional dialect. Previously, it had been 51%. There are two new categories this year: Best Latin Electronic Music Performance and Best Contemporary Mexican Music Album, which the Latin Recording Academy hopes will better showcase the rich diversity of Mexican musical genres. With 22 Latin Grammys, the Puerto Rican hip-hop band Calle 13 holds the record for most awards won by a group, and Puerto Rican rapper, songwriter, and filmmaker Residente, who founded Calle 13 with his stepbrother, has won 28 Latin Grammys. That's more than any other Latin artist. With 17 awards, Mexican singer-songwriter Natalia Lafourcade is the most awarded female artist. Edgar Barrera has 9 nominations this year, the most of any artist for the second year in a row. Not far behind with 8 nominations is Karol G and Bad Bunny. And we still have much more ahead here on Prime. Gymnast Jordan Childs files a suit to get her bronze medal back. How she may have obtained video appearing to show the rules were followed. And Miley Cyrus is accused of taking from another song to create one of her biggest hits, the popular song she's being sued for allegedly trying to duplicate.
Baywatch is a fantasy.
Baywatch was sexy.
Baywatch was the #1 show in the world.
It was hot.
When you hear that theme song,
I had no idea how much fun I was going to have.
It was addicting. People were just hungry. They were eating that stuff alive.
it was a wild time, and I was a wild chick.
Everyone tuned in to watch the show because you knew you were going to see someone sexy.
I mean, everybody was pretty.
Not just white women can look hot and sexy. Anyone can do it.
Jason Momoa exploded off of Baywatch.
Carmen was a bombshell who had something to say.
Pamela Anderson was an icon.
Pamela was this sweet girl from Canada who came to get the American dream.
I'm really proud of everything I've done. Almost.
Baywatch was a whirlwind of epic highs and bitter lows.
It was a lot of pressure.
They had to wear next to nothing.
You want me to wear this?
What?
He with the best abs wins, or she with the best boobs win.
They just wanted to put you under a microscope and see where your flaws are.
Everybody was disposable, and if you didn't fit into their brand, you were gone.
Baywatch empowered me. Every now and then it hurt me. But so do the people and the things we love. I need to take a break, okay?
Greed and lust, fame.
It's crazy.
It changed everything.
It was about pushing the envelope.
Iconic. So hot.
Everyone likes to watch sexy things.
Let's go.
The ship is incredible. It feels like living in a science fiction movie.
We just saw what no one has seen before.
Wow, look at that.
Oh my gosh.
Well, dead ahead. Tag on!
We are heading into the unknown.
Hammer, hammer, hammer. It doesn't get any more cutting edge than this.
What does Demi Lovato want you to know about her documentary Child Star that everyone's talking about? Well, tomorrow morning, she's live right here on GMA. And the first Golden Bachelorette in her first morning TV interview. What will she reveal? Tomorrow morning on Good Morning America. Nightline. The stories that shape your world, that shape your life. Dramatic, stunning, empowering, jaw-dropping. The most powerful stories of our time. Nightline, on right after Kimmel and streaming on Hulu.
A new lawsuit is filed over a bridge collapse in Baltimore. An appeals court decides on a case involving one of Jeffrey Epstein's closest associates. And Miley Cyrus is accused of taking from another popular song to create one of her biggest hits. Those stories and much more in tonight's Rundown.
Nearly 6 months after a cargo ship struck a pillar on Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge, causing it to collapse, families of some of the workers who were killed are suing to hold the ship's owners liable. Relatives of 3 of the 6 victims announced their intent to file a claim in an ongoing liability case involving Grace Ocean Private Limited, which owns the cargo ship Dolly, and asked a federal court to not limit its liability in the incident. A federal appeals court in New York upheld Ghislaine Maxwell's sex crimes conviction. She had asked the U.S. Court of Appeals in March to overturn her conviction and 20-year prison sentence for recruiting and grooming underage girls that the late Jeffrey Epstein sexually abused. A Virginia man was charged in the deaths of his wife and another man in a double murder in Reston last year. Brendan Banfield was charged with 4 counts of aggravated murder Monday. His wife, Christine Banfield, and Joseph Ryan were found dead in a home in February 2023. The family's au pair, Juliana Perez Magalis, had previously been charged with second-degree murder in Ryan's death. Officials say Banfield and the au pair were in a romantic relationship. Meta says it's banning Russian state media from its social media platforms because of alleged foreign interference. The company, which owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, said it was banning outlets including Rossiya, Segonya, and RT and others, claiming they used deceptive tactics for Russia's covert influence operations. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov criticized the ban, saying Meta was discrediting themselves. Jordan Childs filed an appeal with the Swiss Supreme Court to reclaim her gymnastics bronze medal from last month's Olympics. Childs initially won bronze in the women's floor final, but the Court of Arbitration for Sport later ruled an inquiry into Childs' score that bumped her up to 3rd place was not filed in time, leading to the results being modified and Childs' bronze being given to Romania's Ana Barbosu. A new lawsuit is accusing Miley Cyrus of copying Bruno Mars. The suit was brought by Tempo Music Investments, which owns part of the copyright for Mars' 2013 hit, When I Was Your Man.
I should have bought you flowers and held your hand.
The company accused Cyrus of copying musical and lyrical elements from that song in her hit single, Flowers.
I can buy myself flowers.
Cyrus has not publicly responded to the lawsuit.
For the first time, Instagram unveils new teen accounts with different settings and features for users under 18.
But this change is really focused not on any litigations, but on parental concerns. We've really decided that parents should be our North Star. They've been clear on what they're most concerned about, and we're trying to proactively address those concerns.
It's the most sweeping response yet to lawsuits and growing concern over social media's effects on young teens. The accounts will restrict who can contact them, what content they can see, and how much time they spend online, including what topics they can view. The changes roll out over the next 60 days. Just moments ago, former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan, who was held in a Russian prison, talked to the media for the first time from the steps of the Capitol, where he met with a delegation from his home state of Michigan. Whelan was held for more than 5 years on espionage charges the U.S. government says were lies. Let's hear what he told our Patrick Reevell just moments ago.
And how does it feel to be here free at the Capitol? And do you have any plans now going forward? Do you have any hopes?
It's great being back. I'm tired. There's a lot ahead. One of the things I'm focused on is getting a new car. So it's that sort of minutia that you have to focus on. But I have some plans. We'll see what materializes. But for now, I'm just kind of getting back into the swing of things. Getting adjusted with my parents.
Whelan also said he's getting to learn the features of his i15 Pro. Now to the real-life succession battle playing out in a Nevada courtroom. Conservative media mogul Rupert Murdoch is fighting to change his family trust so that his eldest son gets control of his empire. Eva Pilgrim has more.
The fight over power and control of one of the world's most powerful media companies playing out like an episode in the hit show Succession.
Everything I've done in my life, I've done for my children.
Control over Rupert Murdoch's media empire now to be decided.
Any comment, Mr. Murdoch? Why the secrecy in the case?
Not by him, but in a Reno, Nevada courtroom. The 93-year-old tycoon wanting to protect the conservative leanings of his media portfolio, which includes Fox News, The Wall Street Journal, and New York Post, is now trying to change the terms of an irrevocable family trust.
I'm the eldest boy! In changing an irrevocable trust, you either need to get all of the current and future beneficiaries to agree to that modification.
The trust was created after Murdoch's divorce from his second wife, giving equal control of his company to his 4 children at the time. But the New York Times reporting that the family fell out over political disagreements after Murdoch and his oldest son, Lachlan, allegedly pushed Fox News further to the right when Donald Trump was president. In 2019, Murdoch put Lachlan in charge of the empire, and now the mogul trying to change the trust to keep him in charge, arguing in court that the only way to preserve the company and protect its value is by giving Lachlan veto power so his more moderate siblings can't challenge his vision. All 4 would maintain equal shares and financial equity. The New York Times reporting Bill Barr, former attorney general under President Trump, is leading the effort to rewrite the trust. James, Elizabeth, and Prudence Murdoch fighting the move as a united front, hiring high-powered attorneys to challenge their father's move in court.
Our thanks to Eva Pilgrim for that. Jeff Bridges is a star of film and television. He's even a photographer and musical artist with a few albums under his belt. And now we can add cancer survivor to that list. And Bridges is back at work, starring in the 2nd season of FX's The Old Man. Our Victor Kendo sat down with him.
Those tough times, they teach you things that's the only way you can learn them is going through times like that.
Legendary actor Jeff Bridges, stronger than ever, a blessing after waging a private health battle.
It was a really scary time. Jeff called and said, I have a problem. And that was cancer.
While filming season 1 of FX's The Old Man in 2020, Bridges was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and would endure a near-death battle with COVID while undergoing chemotherapy.
How are you feeling now?
Great. Yeah, I'm glad that's all in the rearview mirror.
How was that early on, especially season 1?
Well, that was another wonderful thing about our team. Most guys hung out for that year that I was off, and so the team came right back, and that was great support there.
He said, I've never not finished a job. And in a dark hour, when it wasn't all clear what the outcome was going to be, there was this thing inside of him that said, oh, I need to finish my job.
Bridges announced his remission from cancer in 2021 and returned to set shortly after. Bridges is back on screen in The Old Man, and we're there on set with him and his co-stars.
Are you sure it's worth it?
Returning for season 2 on FX.
Our show is about a fellow who was a hero in his youth. And now, as he's an old man, he's wrestling with a lot of demons.
What can you tell us about season 2?
The stakes, they're bigger this season. It's a very personal kind of story that we're telling, but also it gets global, too, in surprising ways.
Bridges, now 74, plays a former CIA agent living off the grid when an assassination attempt forces him to reconcile with his complicated past.
Some people think the guy's a hero. Some guys think no, he's the most evil person going.
Bridges shot to stardom for his work in films like Jagged Edge with Glenn Close.
I want you to look as though your life has been shattered.
My life has been shattered.
Bridges scored his first Oscar nomination in 1971 for The Last Picture Show.
I'll see you in a year or two if I don't get shot.
Winning for his work in Crazy Heart.
Thank you, Academy member.
And, of course, his iconic role.
He peed on my rug.
He peed on the dude's rug.
As the dude in The Big Lebowski.
You have fans that are of all ages. I was introduced to you with Big Lebowski when I was in high school. Is that something that you strive for, just to be able to, just have a broad appeal always?
My father, Lloyd Bridges, he had this series back in the 60s called Sea Hunt. But it created a lot of typecasting for him, and it was very frustrating for him. So when I started acting, I said, gee, I don't want to create too strong a persona. I'm going to try as many different parts as I can and kind of mix it up. It was wonderful to go from Lebowski to The Contender, where I got to play the President of the United States, from the dude to the prez. That was a lot of fun.
The Old Man also stars Golden Globe and Tony winner John Lithgow, playing a former FBI assistant director tasked with hunting down Bridges.
Lithgow, man. Yeah, we're immediately old buddies. I was never as dumb as you thought I was. I was never as reckless.
It's this legendary duo's first on-screen project together.
How did you get the green light for an action thriller series starring a couple guys in their 70s?
It's funny, when I first looked at the book, and the title is The Old Man, and I was like, will we ever be able to sell this? So what's it like to be Jason Bourne when he turns 70? And then we said, all right, let's dream. Who could be the star of this show? We said, well, top of the food chain, Jeff Bridges.
What we saw in it as a book and what we saw in it as a project, which was to be able to tell a story about what happens to an action hero when they survive being an action hero.
Staying true to his character, the series has Bridges often performing his own stunts.
This has to be a physically taxing role. How did you prepare for it?
I love doing fight scenes. It's like something from my youth, and I kind of, watch it sometimes because I'll think my, body can do some things that, writing checks that it can't cash,
Behind the scenes on set in Los Angeles, we also got to meet the Rottweilers, Dave and Carol.
Nailed it. What would you say the message is of The Old Man?
Well, I think we want to be true to the genre, where we are a fun spy thriller. However, we also want it to feel very real. And we also want to say there's more to it. Some may look like a hero, others may look like a villain, and we explore the gray, everything that's in between.
And you always go into a project thinking, this is going to be great, and then when it turns out the experience of making it is even better than you ever thought, you say, oh, I'm glad I'm in this profession.
And we are glad he's back in the profession as well. Thanks to Victor for that conversation. That's our show for this hour. I'm Linsey Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Coming up in the next hour, more on the case against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs as he now faces federal charges for racketeering and sex trafficking, what prosecutors are revealing about the evidence. And the extreme weather in Europe as wildfires rage and major flooding forces tens of thousands of people out of their homes.
There was a specific moment during our wedding. I looked at Jason, I looked at my children, and I realized this was real. That was my husband, and this was our family. We live in a very beautiful place, and sometimes the beauty masks what really is going on. Jason seemed happy. We all just thought the world of him.
This is her knight in shining armor.
Everything felt right. All of a sudden, I found this hidden folder. I opened it. And I don't think I can say it. I'm sorry. I just need a break. She put her hand to her mouth and gasped. It's shocking. Gut-wrenching. I realized that my life will never be the same. Jason would kill me before he would let me tell anyone this part of him.
He's in so much freaking trouble.
My stomach just dropped. I remember just feeling like, what the hell? That was my dad. It did not feel real. It felt so shocking. Like, what is going on?
Never in a million years did I ever think Jason capable of something so horrific. What did I miss?
That's when that fire inside of me shifted to like a flame. I was like, it's on. I lured Jason to a public place. The whole police squad pulls up. I hear the most awful sound, like blood curdling out of this world scream. And I realized it was coming out of me. Betrayal betrayal is one of the hardest types of trauma to overcome.
Those letters and those apologies were to make him feel better.
Everything that he said was a lie. How could he do this? He just really didn't think I had it in me to do something. So I did.
Betrayal, a father's secret. The all-new season, only on Hulu.
You're watching America's #1 streaming news. Keep streaming with ABC News Live.
Every Friday.
The hottest trends, styles, and must-have. It's time to buy the right stuff.
And save big time, too.
The right stuff.
Fridays on GMA.
You're gonna love it.
With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir, America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television. ABC News Live, honored with 8 Emmy nominations, more than any other streaming news network. And ABC News Live Prime with Linsey Davis, the first and only streaming show nominated for Best Outstanding Live News Program. This is ABC News Live.
Reporting from Monterey Park, California, I'm Robin Roberts. Wherever the story is, we're going to take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Good evening, everyone. This is ABC News Live Prime. I'm Linsey Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We have a lot of news to get to this evening, including the new images tonight from court after former music mogul Sean Diddy Combs is held without bail following allegations that he ran a, quote, enterprise that engaged in sex trafficking, forced labor, or kidnapping, arson, and other crimes. Plus, the hundreds evacuated in Texas more than 24 hours after a fiery explosion. A natural gas pipeline outside of Houston is what authorities now say caused the fire. And singer Gabby Moreno tells us about the deluxe version of her album Dusk and how her heritage inspires her music as we celebrate Hispanic and Latin Heritage Month. But we do begin tonight with Sean Diddy Combs arrested here in New York City and his not guilty plea late today as Combs now faces multiple federal charges, including sex trafficking offenses. Combs was arrested overnight in New York. In court this afternoon, the judge denied him bail. The sweeping indictment accuses him of leading a years-long criminal enterprise of sexual abuse, including threats, coercion, kidnapping, and violence. Diddy was the subject of multiple civil suits, and in March, the FBI raided his homes in Los Angeles and also Miami. Tonight, Combs' lawyers say the prosecution's evidence only shows consenting adults experiencing intimacy, but federal authorities describe something very different. ABC senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky leads us off.
He was a genre-defining hip-hop impresario, but tonight Sean Combs is in federal custody on charges accusing him of a decades-long pattern of sexual abuse, exploitation of women, and other crimes of violence.
A year ago, Sean Combs stood in Times Square and was handed a key to New York City. Today, he's been indicted and will face justice in the Southern District of New York.
A 3-count indictment treats the 54-year-old Diddy like a mob boss, accusing him of leading a criminal enterprise that abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. The indictment going into disturbing details, alleging Combs orchestrated elaborate sex performances he called freak-offs, full of drug-filled debauchery, where he manipulated women to engage with male commercial sex workers.
The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics to keep them obedient and compliant.
Prosecutors alleging when Diddy didn't get his way, he hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair.
The victims did not believe they could refuse Combs without risking their security or facing more abuse.
The indictment referring to one incident in 2016 at a Los Angeles hotel seeming to match accusations made in a civil lawsuit by Cassie Ventura, Combs' former girlfriend. Disturbing hotel surveillance video obtained by CNN purportedly showing Combs attacking Ventura during that incident, throwing her to the ground, kicking her, and trying to drag her away. The lawsuit was settled with no admission of wrongdoing. Combs later issuing an apology video.
My behavior on that video is inexcusable.
10 more civil lawsuits followed Ventura's, alleging sexual assault, physical violence, and human trafficking, accusations Combs has denied. And in March, agents raided Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami. Today, prosecutors showing these images of seized ammunition and AR-15s, the serial numbers defaced.
They also seized evidence of the freak-offs, electronic devices that contain images and videos.
It is a staggering fall from grace for the self-proclaimed bad boy,
That's what's up.
who shot to fame in the 1990s, launching his record label and the successful careers of Mary J. Blige, Usher, and Notorious B.I.G.
Throw your hands in the air if you're a true player.
Expanding his brand and empire into fashion, fragrances, and alcohol. But today, Combs stood in a federal courtroom and pleaded not guilty, his lawyer saying he's innocent.
Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end. He's innocent.
Our thanks to Aaron Katursky. There's new reporting after what authorities believe was a second assassination attempt against Donald Trump. What we learned about the suspect today as the former president thanked law enforcement. Here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, former President Trump showing appreciation for the sheriff's deputies who arrested the suspect who authorities believe plotted to kill him.
Thank you very much.
Keep walking!
Those deputies seen in that dramatic body camera video arresting Ryan Routh, today giving Trump the handcuffs they used to apprehend him. Also today, Vice President Harris speaking with Trump in a call described as cordial and brief.
I checked on him to see if he was okay. And I told him what I have said publicly. There's no place for political violence in our country.
Overnight, Trump also praising the Secret Service agent who spotted the barrel of an assault-style rifle sticking out from the fence at his golf course on Sunday, opening fire on the suspect, who officials say had been hiding by the golf club for 12 hours. The Secret Service acknowledged they did not completely sweep the property before Trump arrived, because Trump's golf outing was not on their official schedule, saying they did not know he'd be playing golf that day. Tonight, sources telling ABC News the Secret Service director told Trump additional planning and security procedures are needed for him to continue his golf outings, encouraging the former president to give as much notice as possible. Today, if FBI analysts pulling DNA from a number of items to see if anyone else was involved. And there's intense focus on trying to establish a motive. Sources confirming FBI agents are studying a self-published book that they believe was written by Routh, which obsesses over Ukraine, calls Trump a buffoon, and encourages Iran to target Trump. Routh seen here on one of his 6 trips to Ukraine.
If you're not here and you're sitting on your couch watching TV, then you're not doing the right thing.
Our thanks to Pierre Thomas. President Trump earlier this evening took to the stage at a town hall in Flint, Michigan, alongside Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, commenting on his phone calls with President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris and complimenting the Secret Service for their actions. Let's take a listen.
I have to say, Secret Service did a hell of a job. They really did. They caught one of the gentlemen that one of the agents was walking a couple of holes in front, and he saw a rifle, AK-47. That's serious stuff, right?
Next tonight to the fear-gripping in Ohio community. And now Ohio's popular Republican governor spent the day in Springfield, Ohio, to push back against false claims that have been spread by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance targeting Haitian immigrants in the city. Our senior congressional correspondent, Rachel Scott, reports.
Tonight, Ohio's popular Republican governor traveling to the city of Springfield.
Crazy time, huh?
A show of support for a community on edge ever since former President Donald Trump amplified a false conspiracy theory that Haitian immigrants were eating neighborhood pets. Governor Mike DeWine has called the story simply not true.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Local authorities say there's no evidence that Haitian immigrants in Springfield are eating cats and dogs. The governor called the claim, quote, a piece of garbage. But in the weeks since the debate, Springfield has had at least 33 bomb threats, including the city hall. 2 hospitals went into lockdown. Today, DeWine visiting one of several schools that were evacuated.
Have your kids come back to school. It's a great environment, great place. We're doing everything we can. Your kids are going to be safe.
Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, who represents Ohio, was among the first to spread the false story and said this when he was pressed about it.
If I have to,
But it wasn't just a meme,
create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do.
But today, Ohio's Republican governor defended Haitian immigrants, most of whom are in the country legally, as key to Springfield's economic revival.
We had one person told me, I'm not even sure my business would be here, but for the Haitians.
Today, Vice President Kamala Harris says Trump's words have left a whole community in fear.
It's a crying shame. We've got to say that you cannot be entrusted with standing behind the seal of the President of the United States of America, engaging in that hateful rhetoric that, as usual, is designed to divide us as a country.
Our thanks to Rachel Scott. The other major story tonight, the stunning and far-reaching attack across Lebanon. Thousands of pagers belonging to Hezbollah militants simultaneously exploded, many in the pockets of those carrying them. The explosions killed at least 9 people and wounded thousands. Our chief global affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz is in the region tonight.
Tonight, shockwaves and panic across Lebanon after a stunning, unprecedented attack, both widespread and personal. Thousands of pagers belonging to Hezbollah militants exploding simultaneously, leaving at least 2,800 wounded, including civilians, and at least 9 dead, including a child. The wireless devices blowing up in hands, pockets, and here you see a shopping bag. Another security video shows a man reaching for his pocket before it explodes. The scream of ambulances reverberating through cities one after another. Graphic images, which we have blurred, emerging from hospitals, showing fingers blown off, faces badly bloodied, and torsos and thighs ripped apart. Iran's ambassador to Lebanon also injured, but not seriously. Back in February, Hezbollah's leader telling his operatives to get rid of mobile phones, calling them a deadly agent. An intelligence source telling ABC that the Israelis have long been working to perfect what they call a supply chain interdiction attack. Former State Department official Steve Ganyard explains how that might work.
The Israelis likely saw an opportunity, bought up thousands of pagers, took them apart, inserted explosives, and then put them back on the market to sell directly to Hezbollah. And then using the radio frequencies that normally bring data into that pager, they simultaneously detonated all of the pagers.
Israel has not claimed responsibility and has not commented, but tonight, Lebanon's Council of Ministers calling the attack criminal Israeli aggression on a sovereign country, and Hezbollah warning that a response is coming. The targeted explosions followed warnings from Israeli leaders that they might ramp up the military campaign against Hezbollah after months of tension on the border and a regular exchange of missiles and rockets.
Our thanks to Martha Raddatz. Still much more to get to tonight. Coming up, public speaking is often listed as the top fear for many, feared even more than death. How a former Obama speechwriter says you can learn to inspire audiences. The next 2 years since a woman was killed for allegedly not wearing her hijab properly, Iran's president announces a new policy concerning the country's policies for women.
The question is, why was Matthew Perry doing ketamine? How did he get it? And who is to blame for his death?
In the case of Matthew Perry, it was kind of the perfect storm.
In September and October of 2023, he was getting 6 to 8 shots of ketamine a day.
5 people, including 2 doctors and Matthew Perry's personal assistant, all arrested.
These were 2 trained physicians.
You feel responsible for Matthew Perry's death?
The suspect's part of a broad underground criminal network.
The focus of this case right now is really on Dr. Placencia and Jasmine Songha. They are not pleading guilty like the others.
Do you know why she was given the name Ketamine Queen?
She sold 50 vials in 2 weeks to Mr. Perry. They talk about exploiting Mr. Perry. They write, quote, "I wonder how much this moron will pay."
Matthew Perry was a money stream for everybody involved.
It is very odd to live in a world where if you died, it would shock people, but surprise no one.
What Happened to Matthew Perry, the season premiere of Impact by Nightline, now streaming on Hulu. You're watching America's #1 streaming news. Live reporting, breaking new exclusives. Keep streaming with ABC News Live.
Hi, I'm Andy.
And I'm Sabrina.
And we're moms, juggling tons of stuff every day, like all you moms out there.
And you know what we love?
Really love?
Pop culture.
So what happens when being obsessed with pop culture collides with being a mom?
You get us.
So listen now to our new podcast, Pop Culture Moms.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Shohei Ohtani, legends of the game. But now the list of greats redefined. From ABC News, Reclaim the Forgotten League, a side of the story of baseball you have never heard before like this. The award-winning podcast is back. Listen wherever you get your podcasts or scan the QR codes you see here.
Reporting from the Normandy coast for the 80th anniversary of D-Day, I'm David Muir. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Welcome back, everyone. We're tracking several headlines around the world. Tonight, Europe is dealing with extreme weather. At least 7 people are dead as wildfires are raging throughout Portugal. And the mayor of a town of roughly 40,000 people in Poland has ordered the whole town to evacuate as Central Europe deals with historic flooding. Floodwaters in that country and the Czech Republic started to recede today after days of downpour. In his first press conference, Iran's president claims the country's morality police will not bother women over the wearing of the mandatory hijab. This comes as the country this week marked 2 years since the death in police custody of Mahsa Amini, who was arrested for allegedly not wearing her hijab properly. Zimbabwe is considering a plan to kill elephants to feed people left hungry by widespread drought. The culling will be the first in the country in more than 35 years. The country is home to 84,000 elephants. Officials say the elephants will be taken from an area where the population has become unsustainable. Experts say the measure is understandable given the extent of the drought and the elephant population in Zimbabwe. Speeches have the power to inspire, persuade, and captivate, yet crafting one, let alone standing before an audience to deliver one, is something that makes many of us sweat or, even worse, panic. In his new book, Say It Well, Find Your Voice, Speak Your Mind, Inspire Any Audience, one of the longest-serving speechwriters for former President Obama, Terry Zuplat, demystifies the art of public speaking and shares life-changing lessons from his own career to help anyone become a more confident and compelling communicator and leader. Terry Zuplat, you've been on our show before, but glad to have you join us live in the flesh tonight. Tell us, how did you get into speech writing?
Yeah, I think like a lot of people, I sort of fell into it. I went to Washington thinking I was going to be a lawyer. I had plans to be, I was going to be a Supreme Court justice arguing historic cases. And funny thing happened, I didn't get into law school, but I got this incredible opportunity to be a speechwriter for our Secretary of Defense, and just found it to help someone communicate their vision, their values, to help them find their voice was something I really enjoyed. So I've tried to sort of take what I learned and share it with other people in this book.
Tell us about the difference between writing a powerful speech and delivering a powerful speech.
Yeah, well, I found that out in my own life. So for 30 years, I was writing speeches for other people and, got pretty good at it. But then when I left the White House, I had to start giving speeches myself. I was being invited, and I really struggled at times. Sometimes I was fine, but other times, and I write about in the book, I froze up, and it was uncomfortable. So I had to sit down and think deeply about what was I doing for Barack Obama all those years, for President Obama? What was he doing? And I had to sort of relearn all these lessons, sort of reverse engineer my own career, and then apply these lessons in my own life. And that's what the book is, how I learned to become a better speaker myself.
Could you give us a tip, a little sneak in to Say It Well, as far as what transformed and what was the connection that you ultimately made from making the words kind of leap off the page?
Well, one of the things that I'm thrilled about this book is that it shares many of the conversations I had with President Obama over the years. We were very lucky. We'd spent a lot of time with him in the Oval Office. And so getting his thoughts on writing and what makes for an effective public speaker. And so I asked him once, what do you think makes for an effective public speaker? And he said, this stuck with me. He said, for him, effective public speaking begins when you know who you are, and you know what you believe, and you're speaking from a place of just your core convictions.
What inspired you to write Say It Well?
Well, it was that experience where I finally, I had sort of withdrawn after a few, uncomfortable public speaking situations. I was invited to give a big speech, a 40-minute speech in front of 300 people. And my first instinct, like a lot of people, I think, was to say no. was just too uncomfortable, too scary. And that's when I really started to think deeply about what was it that I was doing for President Obama all those years? What were the skills that made him so successful? And the act of giving my own first real speech and it going well, thank God, it went well. Said, well, this can be a skill that anybody can learn. I got better at it. I tell the story of how Barack Obama, as a young man in his 20s, froze up one time. I think most people would be shocked to hear that a young Barack Obama froze up giving a speech, but he worked to get better, and all of us can work to get better, and those are the lessons that I share.
And give us a sense of, a lot of people aren't necessarily giving, a speech before an audience, but we are having conversations, and especially in this divided time. What kind of tips might you be able to share just about effective communicating? Effective leaders, effective speakers. First, think deeply about the values of the person you're speaking to, what motivates them, what's their worldview, and if you can speak to that, you have a better chance of forging a deep connection with them, maybe even persuading them. Just before we go, about 30 seconds left, a lot of people talking about artificial intelligence, the good, the bad, the ugly. Right. What do you think when it comes to speech writing? I think that I have two basic rules of this. If you have to get up as a human being and stand up in front of other human beings and you want to forge a human connection, don't ever use a bot. Don't ever use a machine. A machine will never know what's in your heart, what motivates you. Our voice is the most powerful thing we have. Don't ever give it over to a machine. Well said, Terry Zuplat. I guess we could have expected that. And I want to let our viewers know, say it well, find your voice, speak your mind, inspire any audience is now available to purchase starting today. Thank you so much, Terry. And still to come, singer Gabby Moreno tells us about the deluxe version of her album Dusk and how her heritage inspires her music as we celebrate Hispanic and Latin Heritage Month.
Whenever, wherever news breaks, it's so important to always remember that lives are changed.
Here in London, in Buffalo, Uvalde, Texas, Edinburgh, Scotland, from Poland once again tonight. Thank you so much for streaming with us. Ukrainian refugees here in Warsaw. Do you think you'll ever be able to go back home? We're heading to a small community outside of Mexico City. Splintered houses and splintered lives, and the magnitude of the devastation. You're streaming ABC News Live. Reporting from Rolling Fork, Mississippi, Santa Fe, New Mexico, Raleigh, North Carolina, the U.S. Capitol, Mayfield, Kentucky, Minneapolis, Mexico, Tongass National Forest, Alaska.
Getting you behind the stories as they happen, giving you a front row seat to our world as it plays out in real time, live.
ABC News Live Prime. We'll take you there.
Stream ABC News Live weeknights, America's most honored streaming news program, only on ABC News Live. Streaming free right now wherever you stream your news.
Hey, good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Money. Are you ready? They are ready. Covering the biggest events in the country right now.
There's a lot going on here this morning.
It's always a good time. That's what the show's about.
That's good.
Really good.
Very good.
Coming in hot. Jimmy coming in hot.
It's far from elementary.
Oh.
Good morning, America. I'm not going to try to strut like Michael or anything.
I have known George a long, long time.
Have you ever gotten him to dance?
Look at that face.
You don't just see it, you feel it.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in too. I'll be here.
I am here and so happy.
I'm in.
I'm in too.
I'm in.
That tells you something when Snoop Dogg's in. Michael, George, Lara, Ginger.
Tonight, we are celebrating Hispanic and Latin American Heritage Month, and by blending the sounds of Latin, folk, blues, rock, Americana, and more, our next guest is creating music on her own terms. With the latest release of her deluxe album version of Dusk, Gabby Moreno takes us through a lyrical journey rooted in change and how to embrace even the most unforeseeable circumstances with hope. Let's take a listen. That was New Dawn off of Dusk Deluxe, and Gabby Moreno joins us now in studio. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. So wonderful to be here.
So you have talked about how this new album was built on hope for you. Why was that such an important issue for you to tackle in your songwriting?
Oh, it's been quite a recurring theme throughout all my 9 albums that I've released now. You know, as a Guatemalan immigrant, I came here to this country over 2 decades ago with my dream of just being in music and you know, performing and bringing joy and happiness to people. And so hope for me has always been like right there next to me. That's like, you know, what they say, that's the last thing that we lose. And I've always been a person that is always singing about that, about hope and resilience and dreams and aspirations.
Give us a sense of how being from Guatemala informs your songwriting.
Well, I have written a few songs telling my story of how I moved from Guatemala, you know, because I was born and raised there, and I arrived in Los Angeles at the age of 18, 19 years old. And yeah, I've written a few songs about that, and also I have a song that I just released that is kind of considered a second anthem in Guatemala. It's called Luna de Xelajú. I got to sing it as a duet with a dear friend who's also born in Guatemala, Oscar Isaac. And so it's just a big part of me. It's something that, you know, I'm never gonna lose, is that identity that I have as a Guatemalan immigrant.
Tell us why that collaboration with Oscar Isaac is so significant for you.
It was incredibly special. It's a song that I've been singing since I was a little girl, and when I met him a few years ago, he also told me that it was a song that meant a lot to him and to his family. And then I realized, well, it's a song that really means a lot to a lot of Guatemalans. If you ask anybody from Guatemala, they know the song. And so it was very special to me, and I knew that I wanted to include this live version that we recorded in Los Angeles together. And now it's part of my new album, Dusk.
And now you're actually out on tour. How different is that when you're recording in studio versus being live in front of an audience?
Ooh, the whole dynamic changes. I mean, when you're in the studio, you can just, you know, take your time and fix things and everything. When you're live, it's like anything goes. But I really love that energy. I also love the fact that I can change it up and I can, you know, do different arrangements. Also, depending if I'm playing solo or if I'm playing with a band. So yeah, it's a different experience, but always super fun.
Best Latin Pop Album. Big congratulations on your Grammy win earlier this year.
Thank you.
Why is it so important for you to still have a healthy mix of lyrics, not only in English, but also in Spanish?
Because it's important to me. Since I've been recording music, I've always done it. I've always kind of made this statement that I am a bilingual artist, and it's important to me to tell my story that I am an immigrant and that I am, you know, perfectly comfortable singing in both languages. And I've realized that also there's a lot of people here in the States that understand and speak Spanish, and but not just in the States, like anywhere I go. But more than that, I feel that music is universal, and it just doesn't matter what language you're singing it.
Gabby Moreno, our thanks to you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And we want to let our viewers know you can listen to her latest album, Dusk Deluxe, and her complete music discography wherever you stream your music. And that is our show for tonight. I'm Linsey Davis. ABC News Live is here for you all night with the latest news, context, and analysis. You can always find us on Hulu, Roku, Pluto TV, the ABC News app, and of course on abcnews.com and Disney+. Thanks so much for streaming with us. The news never stops. Have a great night.
Watching America's #1 streaming news. Live reporting, breaking new exclusives. Keep streaming with ABC News Live.